It's me. Leave a message at the beep.
Hey man, so I was doing this thing the other day where I make a point, and it's a valid point, and it's a good point, and I'm right. But then the guy's like, citation, you don't know what you're talking about. So I explained that I'm actually, a middle-class, modestly successful guy going through a divorce. And he's like, well, prove it. So stupid. What I had to do is I went down to the courthouse and I filed divorce papers on your behalf. So your wife's going to get served probably, I'm going to say Thursday. But it's not serious. It's not real. I just needed, to have a recorded document to prove that I'm actually, qualified to talk about bullshit on the internet. Because I don't know if you know this, but you can't just make shit up. I mean, you can, but it's really hard. So So, on the plus side, whole new bachelor party. I mean, that's got to be worth something right there. Okie doke, buddy. Give me a call back. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back. Oh my gosh, you know the deal. Well, this week's podcast almost didn't happen. In part because of the events that have transpired over the week, and in part because after which I just wasn't feeling it. So, for those of you who don't follow me on social media, what you don't know is that my office was burgled this week. Burglarized, robbed, looted, pillaged, raped, if you will. No, it wasn't rape, but it was all of the other things. They opened a window. They reached in and opened the door. They took all my cameras, all my memory cards, all but one of my hard drives. I still have the backup of the Kimmy movie. And basically everything. Absolutely everything. 3 cameras, all my lenses, all my accessories. Basically, 2 backpacks worth of stuff and a laptop. And in the laptop bag was the tablet. So it's great. It's great. I've got a microphone now and a recorder which appears to be doing a decent job. It's a MP3 instead of a WAV file, but it should sound good enough for a podcast, hopefully. I don't have a windscreen yet, a little pop screen for this, but you know what? You guys deserve the unfiltered, unbridled Brian. And it's really disheartening. The theft, the thing is, it's about, I don't know, a couple $2,000, $3,000 worth of stuff. And that's really frustrating, but that's not the deal breaker. What's really frustrating is the loss of security, the loss of peace of mind, and to a lesser extent, the loss of data. All my deep backup stuff is gone. And, none of it's encrypted or anything, but there's nothing terribly exciting on there, I don't think. I don't think there's passwords or account numbers, but it's just damn frustrating. And I'll probably get reimbursed for a fair amount of it. I don't know. I still haven't looked at what my deductible is. The police said give it a week or so because the crackheads go to all the same pawn shops. And with the list of items I was able to give them, the specificity, the markings on some of them, the serial numbers, there is still some chance that at least some of it will be recovered, but I don't believe it. So, it's disheartening, and that's why I almost didn't do a podcast this week, but I guess here I am. We'll see how abridged it is. I'm imagining fairly. Pretty much the only thing they didn't steal was my monitors and my desktop computer because they were just too damn bulky to steal. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. So with that said, this week's podcast is brought to you by insurance. Insurance. It's what's going to make me slightly whole, probably, though in bad ways. Insurance. It's what will replace my $5,000 worth of stuff with about $3,000 worth of stuff, because most of it's gone down in value and I have a deductible. Insurance. It's what you need to have if you value your stuff. Insurance. It's what I would be likely to lose if I didn't already purchase a new security system and series of cameras, which will be littered around the office and the house and backed up via Wi-Fi. Insurance. It's what's for dinner. All right. Well, fuck it. Let's get started. So on Saturday, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia passed away. He apparently died in his sleep at the age of 79. Now, 79 is a good long lifespan, but once you reach higher and higher ages, your odds of dying at the mean age of, 72, 78, I don't remember, goes down substantially. Because, you've got to take into account all the infant mortality, all of the, reckless youth, all of the, adult onset fetal alcohol syndrome, the normal things that often kill prematurely. Scalia, according to one website, only had a 49% chance of dying, putting him, not in the top half of likelihoods, but here he is, he's died. He has died, and since Supreme Court justices are given a lifetime appointment, there's only two ways they can leave the post. And while I think he could have just retired, I respect his decision. And I think he made the right choice. So that means, with just 11 months to go, Obama faces the possibility, but not probability, of replacing a Supreme Court justice. Now, for the past, since the last appointment, Obama has appointed two Supreme Court justices, Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, and both of them are pretty strongly liberal, well qualified, but quite liberal. He was able to do that because, he was a sitting president, he had years to go. He could, as long as he didn't appoint someone like Harriet Miers, like Bush did, who was basically his legal nanny and had no serious qualifications. No, he could get them through. But with just 11 months to go, it's a different game. Last year, Justice Ginsburg considered retiring, but didn't, because she said, "I don't believe that Obama would be capable of replacing me with someone as liberal as me. So I'm going to ride it out until the next election, at least, or death, whatever." So with 11 months to go, Obama's got a tough road to face. Now, there's already talk, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Maternal McConnell, has said, "I'm going to insist that the president, respect the will of the voters. Do not appoint someone. Wait until the next president comes in, and then let them appoint them." Well, the will of the voters is clear. They elected Obama not once but twice. It is Obama's responsibility to nominate someone, and Obama quickly came out and said, "Yes, I'm going to name a successor, and I expect you to vote." McConnell has the opportunity to make it very difficult for Obama. And the question is, will he? Now, up until, as of right now, as of yesterday, I guess I should say, the court was split. 4 liberals, 4 conservatives, and 1 swing vote in Justice Kennedy. Now, Justice Kennedy was actually appointed by George H.W. Bush, Bush 41, but he's turned out to be kind of liberal. And apparently, the older you get as a Supreme Court justice, the more liberal you get. But he has turned out to be quite liberal, though he voted against the Obamacare ruling, forcing Justice John Roberts, I'm getting wonky here, but no, Roberts was the deciding vote. It doesn't matter. The thing is, now that the most conservative justice has died, this leaves an opportunity to replace him with someone who is either liberal or moderate. It is believed Obama will appoint someone who is moderate. And the Republicans have the opportunity to confirm him or her, or try to stall. Now, conservatives are saying, nope, they're going to stall, they're going to ride it out, they're going to wait for the next president and deal with it then. Well, here's the problem, guys. That's a gamble. That's a big gamble, because you don't know you're going to win. Right now, there are even odds that Hillary will win versus any Republican. And that's according to the British sites, which allow betting on the American election, which is quite interesting. And as the field narrows down, we'll get a better idea. Whether it's Hillary versus Trump or Sanders versus Cruz, the dynamics are too up in the air. So basically, the Republicans who control the Senate, who ultimately decides whether or not a Supreme Court justice is confirmed, the Republicans have to gamble. Do we accept Obama's moderate appointee now, or do we stall and hope that we can win the White House and the Senate to get a more conservative justice? Or if we lose the White House and or Senate, we're going to get a much more liberal justice. And frankly, I think the smart money is take the moderate. Take the moderate. I do not believe that the Republicans are going to win the Senate and the White House in November. I'm so confident that I'm willing to mention this in my podcast and then probably not mention it again. That's how confident I am. Yes, you can feel my confidence just dripping out onto your ears. Also, I apologize for that. I should probably have, mentioned to have a wet wipe handy. No, I think Obama will nominate a left-ish moderate, and that the Republicans will accept it and claim, you know what, we're bipartisan. We let this happen. When the truth is, they know that if they don't, they're going to look like obstructionist a-holes, which will end up punishing them in the election. That if they don't, more liberals and young liberals will turn out in the election because they know that a Supreme Court nominee is definitely on the table. And if that happens, they're going to get a way more liberal justice, and probably a fairly young one who's going to be sitting for 30, 40 years, generation or two. But, let's take a moment of silence for Justice Scalia, and we're going to do it in the same way that Republicans take moments of silence for all their fallen heroes, and that is like this. Here we go, moment of silence, and it's passed. You got to make it quick, because ratings are key, and you can't honor someone if it means dead air. At least that's what they've taught me.
Hot streams for your face. Hot streams for your face.
Yes, I do have a hot stream, and thank you to my regulars who've told me that they don't want to see extended trailers and whatnot. I won't do those anymore. I'll just tell you about the show. And in part, it's because when I do show clips and trailers, I get flagged for copyright infringement, and I'm just sick of it. It's driving me nuts.
I have every legal right to show clips and trailers when I'm discussing exactly what I'm showing, but, that's just not good enough for the copyright bastards. And really, we should call them copyright bastards, because if you look at something like The Diary of Anne Frank, it is now in the public domain in Europe, but it is not in the US and will not be until 2042 somehow. And remember, the idea of copyright is to protect a work so that the original artist can reap maximum benefit and be free to create new works. Well, guess what, guys? Anne Frank never wrote a sequel. Her children do not benefit from this because she unfortunately did not survive to have children. Her estate, I assume, benefits. But thank God we're protecting this work of history from entering the public domain, because God forbid we should understand why the Nazis are bad. Ugh, copyright, you sons of bitches. 14 years, 28 years, hell, 50 years. But 74 years, 100 years? Give me a fucking break. Okay, so with that said, this week I'm going to talk about a great show from England. It's got 3 series. I think maybe 8 episodes per series, so 24 episodes in total. It's a series by Dave Gorman called Modern Life is Good-ish. Modern Life is Goodish, and really it is. At least according to Dave Gorman. Dave Gorman does stand-up comedy. You may have even seen him on The Daily Show, where he was briefly a correspondent in 2006. He's a really funny guy, and what he does with his stand-up is he does PowerPoint presentations. So he doesn't just tell you jokes, he supports them with funny stuff that you can see on screen. Let's call them facts. They might as well be. They really are. But really, they're his crutch, and that's fine too. So with Modern Life is Goodish, he'll attack a subject, and the episodes are so smart. He'll start off with a little anecdote, and then build on it, and then change gears, and then build on it some more, and then have a big segment, and then at the end he ties it all back in together again, and you're just left going, wow, that was not just funny, but it was really smart. And to give you an idea of the kinds of segments he does, they're not always the most original, but they're always the sort of thing that you probably haven't heard of before. So like one time he did a great segment about puzzles. Apparently he got this reputation around the office that he likes puzzles. So when Twitter exploded with this little funny picture that was in a shop window that said, "I need someone to make puzzles for me, to assemble complete puzzles, 50 pounds per puzzle, no time wasters." Well, I mean, right there, that's ridiculous. But everyone in the office was like, "Oh, Dave, you should do this. You should do this." And he's like, yeah. So then he starts looking at puzzles. Well, he bought a novelty puzzle, and or someone bought a novelty puzzle for him. He put it together. Very funny, very funny. So he bought a novelty puzzle just like it for his mom, but he made it different. He made a new Photoshop, very similar. And then he thought, you know what? How many different dies do they have to cut these puzzles? So he took both of them apart, put both of them together, and found that they're the same die, and that he could actually replace parts of the puzzle with other puzzles. And then he decided, you know what? I wonder if puzzles from mainstream manufacturers are the same way. So he went out and he bought, I don't remember if it was 9 or 12 or 16 puzzles. He bought a bunch of puzzles. And that's when you find out that the ad that said, "I need someone to put puzzles together for me," that was his ad. Guys, you're telling me to respond to this ad. It's my ad. I'm the guy who wanted it in the first place. I don't have time to put together a dozen puzzles. So he puts them together and finds that although they claim to be genuinely unique each time, they do in fact use the same die to cut them. So he started remixing them. And now you've got it on this lovely, lovely waltz through the promenade. There's fighter jets coming through. It's very funny. And this one, they use the same die, but they cut it upside down. So this one doesn't work as well, but it's a humble little chalet with an upside down dog in the top of it. It's very funny. It's very funny. So anyway, he brings it all back together into a fun little point. But one of the big things he did was talked about, and this is not new to him. This is a proposal that's 100 years old. He talked about fixing the calendar, fixing it for real, making it work, making it good, turning it into a 13-month calendar. So that's where I'm going to trail off right here and move on to the next segment where I actually explain the 13-month calendar. So that's Dave Gorman. Modern Life is Goodish. You can find some on YouTube, and the rest, you can torrent it safely because it's old enough that nobody's looking to see if you're doing it. Or watch it. Or you can watch it legally. All you have to do is move to England and find it on reruns, which is impossible. So there you go.
Technology.
Did you ever notice our calendars kind of suck? April 4th. What day of the week is that? I don't know. I have no idea. March 26th. What day of the week is that? No idea. What day of the week is your birthday next year? Don't know. Don't know. Don't know mine. Don't know mine last year. This year, I don't know. What if there was a better way? Do you ever notice the months kind of suck? And they do suck. Because we've got... How long is a month? Well, it could be 28, 29, 30, or 31 days. And it's not even consistent. 29 only comes around once every 4 years. And in those years, 28 doesn't exist. The 30s and 31s are, more or less evenly scattered, I guess. And October, it's got an oct in it, but it's not the 8th month. No, it's the 10th month. December, it's got a dec, also not the 10th month. Used to be. No, that's because July and August were added in the middle to honor Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus, because what you really need, if you've got Thursday, which is named after Thor, who was a god, what you really need is a whole month for Julius Caesar and a whole month for Caesar Augustus. It's just common sense, people. No, the problem is, I had a job straight out of college where I made $1,600 a month. And what I didn't know is I replaced two guys who were each making $2,500 a month. Now, if I replaced one guy at that, I was new, I was young, it was fine. But I was making $1,600 a month, and it pissed me off because within about 6 months, I became the best salesman in the company. And by 10 months, I had sold more commission items than the rest of the company combined for the entire year in 1 month. And because of that, they said, well, this just proves that you're really good at it and that you're making the right amount of money. I said, I'm not. I'm the lowest paid employee in the goddamn company. I said, no, you're not. Other people make the same amount as you. I said, no one does. No one does. I know for a fact that the receptionist makes $10 an hour. They said, well, $1,600 a month, $10 an hour, it's the same thing. Well, that would be true if there were 13 months in a year, which there are not. No, if the receptionist is making $10 an hour, that means she's making $1,733 a month to my $1,600. Look, you're making $1,600 a month. She's making $10 an hour. every 2 weeks you get every half month you get a paycheck. Yours is $800 before tax. Hers is $800 before tax. I said, right, that's true. But every so often, her check is not $800. Her check is $1,200. I don't get that bonus. And that's the bottom line. You could say, wait a minute, we're doing 13 months of work, but only getting paid for 12 months. And, that's neither here nor there. You're paid what you're paid. That's fine. I'm not saying you're not getting paid enough, although statistically, you're not. No, the problem, the real problem, well, one problem is paying half your employees on salary and half on hourly is bullshit, because the disparity becomes so real so quickly. And the fact that the receptionist was making more than me when I was the top salesman in the company by miles, it's good. It's good that it happened because it encouraged me to leave. And I went on to make vast sums of money, and they went on to get bought out and bankrupt repeatedly until all of them had no jobs. It was a failed business model. It was an old school idea in a new school world, and they did not adapt well to technology. Anyway, what if we could make a calendar that actually works? A calendar that actually makes sense, and it would be so easy. Instead of a month being 28, 29, 30, or 31 days, from now on, every month is 28 days. Flat. Period. It would be so easy. Now, that would mean you'd have 13 months. So we could, ideally push October back to the 8th month, December back to the 10th month, juggle things around so they work, push January and February, keep them where they are, but just move it back a bit. It'd be fine. You'd need a 13th month. Dave Gorman suggested Gormanuary. So I guess I would suggest Brianuary. It's fine. It would also be a 28-day month. And the rhyme to remember how many days each month has would be easy. 28 days hath January. All the rest do too, because that's how many days a goddamn month has. Perfect. So easy. So easy. Now, if you're scoring along at home, you'll realize that 13 times 28 is only 364. That's not enough days. There's an extra day. We would call that extra day intermission. That's what Dave Gorman called it. I'll call it that too. Others have called it, a free day or nation day or any number of other things. Now, this idea is so old that Kodak actually tried to use this as an official business calendar, but it didn't really work because you still have to give people days off like the 4th of July. So you've got a 13-month calendar, 28 days every month, one extra day. And the nice thing is the first of every month is a Sunday, period. Now you know the first of the month is a Sunday. If your birthday is on the 2nd of February, it's going to be on a Monday every year forever. Now, when it comes to buying calendars, you no longer need to buy a different calendar each year. You just buy one calendar and dry erase it. You can put the birthdays on it in pen, but the less important things on it in pencil. It's easy. You're done. One calendar for the rest of your life. So simple. Why wouldn't we do this? And the answer is the same reason we still celebrate daylight savings, even though it's not practical and doesn't make sense in the modern world. It's tradition. It's the same reason America still has pennies, even though it's so stupid. There's no reason to have pennies. So yeah, what else? Well, my birthday would always be on a Wednesday, and I don't like that. Get over it. You're not 12. Have your birthday on a Saturday like everyone else, you weirdo. Well, I don't, it wouldn't make, I don't know when all the other holidays would be. The holidays, when would the 4th of July be? Would it now be in the fall? Who cares? Remap it, pick a different day. It doesn't matter. It's a symbol. It's a symbol. It's not set in stone. Well, what about astrology? How would that work? Well, I imagine they just make shit up like they do now. No, there's every reason to go to something so practical like this, and no reason not to. Except that, oh, I always thought my birthday was on the 23rd of December, and now it's the 18th of October. Get over yourself. It's not about you. Wouldn't you like to know for the rest of your life what day your birthday is on? And the nice thing is, it comes to things like New Year's Eve, you'll always know that you'll have New Year's Day off because it's a Sunday. And if it's leap day, you get an extra day, so get double pissed. It's fine. You're going to love it. So, I don't know, man. Stuff practical like that, it just never seems to work out. It just makes too much sense. I don't know. So looking at my stats for the podcast, here's kind of a weird one. I've had some episodes that are bigger than others. I've had some that are smaller than others. But interestingly, my biggest one ever is my Christmas episode. Now, I thought it was great, but in the month of December, it wasn't great. It only got, a normal amount of listenership. But then in January, it got even more than it did in December. And in February, it got even more than it did in January and December. Which means if you take all of my February podcasts, they don't even come close to what my Christmas podcast got. And what I mean is, they don't get as many views, as many listens, as many downloads as my Christmas podcast has gotten in February. That's weird. I think I need to start putting descriptive titles on each podcast. I don't know what's going on with that. I'll tell you, the whole podcast thing it's a bit frustrating, and I guess I'd say part of it is because I got robbed this week. And that's, that really puts a crimp in everything. It really puts a damper in it all. And Tina and I made a conscious decision to not tell the kids that we were robbed, because we don't need them freaking out or losing sleep unnecessarily. Like I said, I've bought a security system with a ton of cameras, and basically they're going to be covering all points of entry to the house and the office, and recording on a 2-week loop, and I get 1 year of cloud backup. So even if you could find and steal my DVR, you're not getting away with it that easy, buddy. And I've got one of them that's set up in an interior space where if it triggers, I get a notice to my phone, and then it live streams to my phone. But it's not going to come to that, because I've also purchased signs, which I'm putting out, that say, "Listen, you crazy bastard, you're on camera." And just by looking around, you can see the cameras, and if it's nighttime, they're all infrared, so you can see the little lights glowing. And if you look right at one and decide I'm still going to break in, then my friend, I cannot wait to see you in court. Because the cop even said, if I had cameras and there was a clear shot of the face, there is almost no chance that him or one of his fellow officers wouldn't recognize the perpetrator, because it's not random people. These aren't people coming in from out of town. These guys are coming in from not far away, from a mile or two away, and they're doing them's thievery. And if he doesn't know who it is, somebody in the department does. It's the usual suspects. He figures they get away with it 100 times for every once they're caught, and then they just spend 1 to 3, maybe 6 months in jail, get out, go right back to doing it because they got a habit to feed. And there are a couple funny anecdotes about lesser items they stole, which I will not share on a podcast. Because as you know, my aspirations for Senate are much too high. Much too high. And so are the people who stole from me. Boy. Yeah, let's just move on to the next segment, huh? So I found a really great restaurant this week I wanted to recommend. It's, those of you who've been there will recognize the name. To me, it's a Mexican restaurant. And to me, the measure of a good ethnic restaurant of any sort is, A, are the people who work there actually of that ethnicity? Meaning, if it's a Chinese restaurant, are Chinese people working there? In this case, it's a Mexican restaurant, and yes, the employees, at least probably half of them, were Mexican. And it was busy. So, there must have been, 5-10 people working. And it's a kind of a fresh Mex place, so you can see, you kind of have to lean to the side, but you can see people working. And the second question is, do people of that ethnicity actually eat there? And yes, at this particular time, about half the lobby was persons of Latin persuasion. I didn't exactly go around and poll them to find out what their nationalities were. Figured that'd be a little disrespectful, considering they were eating. Not just as a question. No, as a question, it was fine. I'd be fine with that. But no, I just figured since they were eating, sitting down at their table and going, yo, man, you Mexican? Figured probably disrespectful. Now, I can't pretend to know in their culture if that's disrespectful or not, and I'm not even going to try, because it's none's my business. So what is this restaurant? Well, like I told you, it's a kind of a fresh Mex kind of place. They use cheese and tomatoes and all the stuff you'd expect, and it's fairly affordable. It is called, let me look at my notes so I don't get it wrong, Taco Bell. Yeah, I'd seen an ad on the Super Bowl for the what they call it, a quesarita or a quesalupa, the cheese quesalupa, where they take a double tortilla stuffed with cheese and fill it with what I can only describe as overpriced and disappointing garbage. Don't get the quesalupa. It's terrible. But stick to the other stuff. Oh, so much good stuff. The actual chalupas. Even on the value menu, there's a Frito burrito? That's a good one. But my absolute favorite is the smothered burrito. It's like $3, and it is so good. It's got enchilada sauce and a ton of cheese, and it's just delicious. And no, I am not sponsored by Taco Bell. I think that much is reasonably obvious by this point in the podcast, but I recommend it highly. If you're unfamiliar with Taco Bell, it's something you should check out. And if you are familiar with it, then just ignore everything I've said and go about your business as usual, because you already know what Taco Bell is. So there you go. That's my cuisine advice. Do you ever have someone in your life who just kind of talks too much? I usually don't. Sometimes my kids will, get a little sassy. So what I do is I say, okay, look, guys, here's the deal. I'm going to say one thing. You let me finish, and then you talk. Is that a deal? Can we do that? And yeah, Dad, that's fine. What do you want to say? I go, okay, just so we know, just so we're clear, I'll say one thing. And until I'm finished, you don't talk. It's going to be one sentence long. You don't interrupt. I go, great. Okay, listen. When you boys... And then I just pause. And they go, when we what? I go, whoa, stop. You're interrupting me. I wasn't finished. I said, here, let me start over and don't interrupt. When you boys, and then I just sit there and I don't say anything. And, sometimes 5 minutes will pass, sometimes 8 minutes. And they're just kind of looking at each other like, what the hell? And then finally one of them will like turn to his brother and go, so the other day, no, stop, no interrupting. I'm talking. Clearly I'm talking. Well, Dad, you're not talking. You don't know that. You, my son, had interrupted me. Okay, let me start over. Gosh, can I get through one damn sentence? I don't know. The segment seemed funnier when I wrote it down in the car on the back of my hand. Maybe I should focus on the road. So ever since I was a little kid, I wondered what would happen if I was abducted from this planet and taken to an alien planet where I would live in a zoo. It would be interesting. I think what they would do is give me a little human habitat, which would be, probably the size of a house or two, but kind of flattened out. There'd probably be a little yard. I would assume, be sealed and climate controlled because my atmospheric requirements are different than theirs. And I would assume that they would give me a mating pair. Now, if aliens are as bad at animal husbandry as humans are, that means they would randomly pick up my partner from just anywhere in the world. Statistically, China. Although, I would probably end up stuck with a dude on account of all the imbalance of gender in China. No, I hope they wouldn't do that. But there's a very good chance that whoever I would get would not speak my language, so we'd have to, pig English something together, and we would. And they would have fun with us. We're so dumb. They would just, in the exhibit, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. Watch this. We're going to throw just random shit in there and see what they do with it. They're so bored. The humans are so bored. They're going to play. So here we go. And they, throw in some crayons and a marker board, and then just, oh, look, they're drawing shitty stick figures. That's amazing. Now, I'm not terribly artistic, so they wouldn't realize necessarily that humans have the ability to actually produce art. But more than that, no, then they would throw in, a bunch of electronic components and like, let's see what happens when we give them, the quantum defibrillator. And we just like, we're looking at all these electronic components made out of exotic materials we've never seen before. And we just like build a little house out of them and put little stick figures inside. They're like, oh my God, that's so adorable. They think they're people. And we do think we're people. It's kind of what we do. But a new thought came to mind this week, and I realized if aliens would treat the human exhibit the way we treat animals in our lives, it would just not end well. It would not. Well, first of all, the food would be very disappointing. It would be what Futurama called bachelor chow. They can survive on this. They don't need to be happy or flourish. Certainly, we're not going to print them off lobster and steak. Just give them human pellets. Humans love this shit. It's mostly leftover fingernails and fruit from this random tree. It's fine. They're going to love it. But no, the big problem would be selective breeding. Now, you remember, all dogs used to be wolves. Majestic, brave, proud, strong, noble, dangerous. No, humans would be selectively bred for their stupidity, There would be whole breeds of like micro-humans and macro-humans. There'd be guys that are, huge with bad hips, like German shepherds, and humans that are tiny with bulgy eyes like Chihuahuas. And there'd be ones that are, there'd be border collie humans, redheads. Of course they would selectively breed those. That's great. But can we get purple? Can we get green? These are aliens. They could manipulate our genes. We could have all kinds of things. Werewolf babies. Who cares? And you know what? If I had a werewolf baby, I would love that werewolf baby. I would love my werewolf baby. But I tell you, of all the ways to go, being put in an alien zoo has to be my favorite one. Yeah, I think I'd be okay with that. At least, that's kind of my thought. All right, guys. Well, the music's playing. That means you know what it means. That means it's time to go. That means it is time for me to start editing this bitch together and uploading it so you can enjoy it, so you can get some joy for your week, my friends. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I'll get shit replaced. I'll fight the good fight. I will do it. In the meantime, what I need you to do is check me out on social media. You can find links to all the good stuff. Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, you name it. Go to glossynews.com/Glossy Podcast for this, the Brian K. White Glossy News Review 4K Entertainment News bullshit. Whatever it is. Whatever we're calling it these days. It's not what it was, it's what it is. And that's really what matters in the end. Isn't it? Isn't it? Royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Segment bumpers and ever more jingles by Greg the Hero. And this week, I've got a link. To Greg the Hero, so check out the description. Here, there, and everywhere, iTunes, Libsyn, Glossy News, YouTube. There will be a link for you to check out Greg the Hero's masterful stuff on Face Him a Book. He's, just awesome. Closing thought. I always have a closing thought. Closing thought this week. Do you like flowers? Would you like flowers in front of your home every day, or at least once a week, or at least on holidays? You don't have to buy them. You can, but you don't have to. No, all you have to do is use your car and run over a kid in front of your house, and then for a generation or so, his family will just come and leave flowers. It's beautiful. Everybody wins. Well, I guess not everybody, but that's all for this week.